All right, so we are back with Dr. Holly. Dr. Holly, a few more subtle psychological assists that we want to cover. You have something here called staying quiet. What do you
Yeah.
mean by that?
Yeah. So this is the one that when I work with my sales teams, they find the most interesting. Many research studies have been done watching when people debate or negotiate back and forth. And every single study shows that when two people are negotiating, or two people are debating, or two people are talking, the person who says the least wins the most. The person who says the least wins the most. So
Not
the
not
person,
not the loudest.
mm.
No.
Isn't that funny? And two things are the reason for that. Number one, if you're not talking, you're doing this. I love the expression God gave us two ears and one mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Use that as your percentage, right?
Right.
If we're listening, we're able to hear the client's need, their want, their desires. We're able to respond then in kind the way that we should be. Also, if we're not, and you know this, people talk themselves clean out of sales at times. Sometimes we just get to talking so hot and heavy that we just end up tripping over ourselves and saying something that we shouldn't say because we're just going so fast and clipping along, and then the sale is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to learn to be quiet and listen and then respond to what we're hearing. Not sit while they're talking and think I'm going to say this next and this next and this next, because then we're not really hearing them. We need to really hear them. I have complimented so many salespeople when I ran a corporate training division at the local, one of the local universities here. I had salespeople calling me all the time, and the ones that were very unique that I loved doing business with, that I would go out of my way to do business with, were the ones that I knew heard me. I need this to happen and this to happen, and I need this and this and this. And they would say, this is what I'm hearing, this is what you need, and that's what I'm going to give you.
Yeah.
And then they would leave, and it made me very happy.
Absolutely. It's one of those kind of maybe unwritten laws that to me it almost should be a law, right?
I
In
agree.
sales and leadership and things like that, you have to know how to do that. You know.
Yeah, the really good leaders in life do the same thing. The really good leaders in life listen to their people before they respond. They listen very carefully.
Yeah, the leaders that understand that they can still learn, right? They're going to learn a lot more when you're listening than when you're constantly the one doing the talking. So
Yep,
excellent. And now, how does that work into social proof? This
that's a
this
really,
is this is I'm assuming is a very relevant thing, right? This is
it
important
is.
today. So what is the art
Believe
here
it
of
or
that?
not, social proof is what we have with through social media. So social proof, and my millennials out there are going, I got this, you know.
Hmm.
But I want to say this. You need to have a professional appearance on all of your platforms. Yes, you heard me say that. All of your platforms. I don't care if you're on Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, anything that you're using, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. You've got to be professional in all on all of it. Please tell me that everybody out there knows that your employer can find you on any of those very easily, even if you've got your privacy settings up.
Hmm.
And there's just so many things that can happen if you drop your guard. So I can have, and I have my professional contacts both on my LinkedIn and my Facebook and my Instagram, and I'm still Dr. Holly everywhere they look. I might post a picture with a friend on Facebook and a picture with somebody I'm working with on LinkedIn. But other than that, it's exactly, and I'm not swilling beer on the Facebook picture with the friend because I know I have to keep that image up. Okay. And so social proof means I have proof that I'm a professional, that I have followers, that I have people that like me in all of the different social media areas where I exist. And when you're on social media and you're doing it right, if you're trying to establish relationships, you're listening. You're watching what your counterparts are posting. You're watching what your customers are posting. You're watching what your suppliers are posting. And you're very easily able to say, oh, this supplier just did this really cool post that Bob, my customer, would love to see. Let me go ahead and tag him in it. Let me go ahead and send it to him. And all of that social proof simply means you're well connected, you're tied in. That's the number one way that we form business relationships now is through social media. So that's social proof.
Yeah. No, and it's so important because that's social media really is about influencing. So it's a matter of how are you influencing and what message are you putting out there.
So a little secret I'll share with you for your listeners. One of the companies that I got to work with when I was running the training division at State was Red Hat. Red Hat early on made the decision that they would have their entire sales team work on their social proof. So they actually provided their sales team with the backgrounds, the different posts, the tiles that they could use. They had a professional photographer come in and take headshots of all of their salespeople. And then they taught them how to use social media. And they were all told, you are not to sell one stinking thing on social media. That's not the purpose. Social media is there for us to establish relationships with the people that we do business with.
I got to assume in the next few years we're going to see more and more companies having to do that because people need to understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Hey, we are about out of time for today, but let's finish with one last one. You talk about creating scarcity. And I'm sure a lot of sellers are doing this every day, but I'm wondering, are they doing it correctly? What are some of the good ways to create scarcity?
Yeah, well, the bad thing is you don't want to lie, because if you lie and your customers find out, it's not good. But if you say things like, this is a limited time deal, which often it is, we're only going to be able to extend this offer to you for the next 30 days, or we're only going to have this particular product in stock until we sell out of it. Those are legitimate ways to create scarcity. So we want to create scarcity in a way that allows our people to feel compelled to purchase quickly, but without lying to them so that they find out later, oh, wait, hey, that same deal's still out here, 4 months later. That isn't going to help us out with that relationship.
Yeah. I think at that point we're back to losing some trust. We're losing some respect. Yeah. And that's good. I was very interested in your answer because I see so many salespeople, because they feel a need to establish a deadline or a scarcity, or this is going to be gone, and they fall into the trap of lying, even if it's not a big lie. And boy, it's gonna get you in trouble. It really is. And it's not a good practice. You're not setting up those foundations the way that you want. One of the things that I've always loved is to, whenever you're in a position where you can, create scarcity through questions back. One of the big things in my career was selling ad space. And as we get close to a sale, a business owner looks at, well, when's my deadline? When do you need to have it? When does this offer end? Things like that. And I would always just ask a question back. How much time do you need? And majority of the time, they would tell me an answer that was far less than what I would have given them anyway as a deadline. And I didn't have to lie, I didn't have to mislead, and they're creating their own scarcity for me, which is great.
I love that. I love that trick. That's great.
Yeah. Hey, Dr. Hawley, this has been a lot of fun. I realized over the last few minutes why we get along so well. We're both Tigger.
Yes, we are.
Yeah,
we're bouncy, bouncy, chouncy, chouncy, fun, 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 fun.
Absolutely, and we deal with far too many Eeyores out there, so yes, I think that's what makes our conversation such a pleasure. I've really enjoyed the time. I'm sure our listeners have, and hopefully we can bring you back someday again in the future. Our listeners can find you on our website, OK Boomer Teaching Me Sales. Where else can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on my website. My Gmail is Dr. Hawley Speaks, all one word, @Gmail. And you can look up Dr. Hawley Speaks on both LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. I guess all three of those.
Excellent. And there's good social proof professionally on all of those.
I certainly hope so.
Absolutely. Dr. Hawley, thank you very much for today.
Thank you, Tom.